Welcome to the Get Fit Guys, quick and dirty tips to slim down and shape up. My name is Ben Greenfield, and I'm the Get Fit Guy. From running and cycling clubs to post-tennis matches and the infamous 19th hole in golf, a token cold one at the end of a game or race or workout is often a common phenomenon for many sports. But what happens when you drink beer after exercise, a workout, or a sports activity? Does it dehydrate you? Is it bad for you? Does it inhibit recovery or fat loss or muscle building? Or could it even be good for you? Well, in today's episode, you're going to find out. As my fellow Quick and Dirty Tips host, the nutrition diva, points out in her article, Is Drinking Alcohol Good for You? Moderate alcohol consumption is certainly good for your heart and reduces your risk of heart disease and stroke by thinning the blood and reducing inflammation. And alcohol also seems to reduce the risk of many other chronic diseases. But what about when it comes to exercise? Well, today you're going to discover if beer is good for workouts and if you should drink beer after exercise, and if beer can actually improve hydration. And that's because earlier this year, a Canadian beer company concocted a low-alcohol form of beer that they packed with protein and marketed as a fit beer. It's called Lean Machine and was created by a team of food scientists. With only 77 calories and 0.5% alcohol by volume, which does not sound fun to me. It's also enriched with nutrients, antioxidants, and electrolytes to help replenish the body after a good workout. The Lean Machine inventors may actually be onto something. In a study published in the International Journal of Sports Nutrition and Exercise Metabolism, it was discovered that beer's potential dehydrating effect could be mitigated by changing beer's electrolyte content, by lowering the level of alcohol by 2.3% and then adding salt. Researchers in that study found that the electrolyte-enhanced, lower alcohol beer hydrated their sample of athletes better than traditional ale. But bear in mind, pun intended, that they were simply comparing this new modified beer to traditional beer, and this certainly doesn't mean the modified beer performed any better than, say, water, sports drink, or milk. But there may still be other benefits to beer. Since beer is plant-based and contains barley, hops, and yeast, this means it also has a wide range of naturally occurring nutrients that chemically manufactured, super sweet, nutrient-void sports drinks may not have. For example, a 2011 German study found that the polyphenols in beer may assist with immune function during prolonged strenuous exercise. In this study, participants who were given a non-alcoholic beer, yes, you heard that right, non-alcoholic, every day for 3 weeks before and 2 weeks after a marathon reported fewer incidences of upper respiratory tract infections and were up to 3 times less susceptible to the common cold. And this is likely due to compounds found in the plants used to make the beer that contain anti-inflammatory and antioxidative effects. So ultimately, with a little bit of carbohydrate, some added electrolytes, low amounts of alcohol, and even some smart engineering to add protein, beer may actually be helpful after exercise. But, of course, how many of us are drinking non-alcoholic, fancy, fit beer at the finish line of a marathon or even after a tennis match or a game of golf? Well, there are also definitely negatives to mixing booze and exercise. For example, high amounts of alcohol intake can impair protein synthesis, which is exactly how your muscles repair themselves after exercise. This was found in a study published earlier this year also, in PLOS ONE. In practical terms, this means chugging a few beers after, say, a triathlon may lead to slower recovery for your shoulder muscles or your knee muscles. Well, the study also revealed that when athletes binged on alcohol after an intensive strength training workout, their protein synthesis decreased by nearly 40%. But these athletes were doing a lot of drinking, roughly 8 shots of vodka mixed with orange juice over a 3-hour period. The good news is that there's no evidence that I'm aware of or have ever seen to show that alcohol in moderation, like a single beer or a glass of wine, is going to cause that same shutdown of protein synthesis. So bottoms up, but not too many times. Unfortunately, just like many processed foods, beer can have some definite disadvantages in the health department. And I talked about this in detail in a recent podcast episode over at bengreenfieldfitness.com/279. I discussed some harmful ingredients that are commonly found in beer, like GMO corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, fish bladder, propylene glycol, MSG, GMO sugars, caramel coloring, insect-based dyes, and BPA. Newcastle, Budweiser, Corona, Miller Lite, Michelob, Guinness, Coors Light, and Pabst are some of the biggest offenders, and I apologize if one of your favorites wound up on that list. When it comes to finding healthy beer, I recommend you find a microbrewery you can trust, one that relies upon healthy, organic, naturally sourced ingredients, and one that proudly displays those ingredients. So, for example, organic beers that are unpasteurized and unfiltered include brands like Wolavers, Lamar Street, which is a Whole Foods label brewed by Goose Island, Bison, Dogfish Head, which is an organic beer, Fish Brewery Company, Lakefront Brewery, Brooklyn, Pincus, Samuel Smith's Organic Ale, and Witchwood Scarecrow Ale. And yes, I did visit a microbrewery just yesterday after my sprint triathlon and had a nice pint of a local microbrew. And it tasted fantastic. And guess what? I rolled out of bed this morning, recovered with muscles that felt pretty good. Well, you can read more details on how to choose healthy beer in the excellent article, 8 Beers You Should Stop Drinking Immediately. And I'll link to that over in the show notes at quickanddirtytips.com. And if you, of course, have more questions about drinking beer after exercise, then join the discussion, which is always happening, over at facebook.com/getfitguy. And until next time, this is Ben Greenfield, the Get Fit Guy, asking you, what are you waiting for? Go get fit.